Right, so a couple of weeks ago, as I'm recording this, today is April 29th for context. So a couple of weeks ago, I think it was April 14th, we had this announcement that there was this Bruce Lee box set coming from Arrow Video. Now, it's quite exciting because these films have had various releases over the years. I never upgraded mine since the DVDs, which I got about 10 years ago. Talked about those in two previous videos on this subject, this box set coming out. I've done a couple of videos over the last couple of weeks covering this. I want this to be the video that matters on this subject, though, because previously I was talking about the initial announcement and some of the context regarding prior releases. This one is, like I say, going to be the one that matters because I'm going to go through the breakdown of what's on each disc, because that information got released yesterday by Arrow Video, which was April the 28th. So, firstly, just for context, let's talk about the actual films that we're talking about here, because there's a lot of confusion with regards to that. I've had to explain this to a few people that aren't sort of hardcore fans, basically. So, there is The Big Boss, which was Bruce Lee's first film when he'd gone to make his films in China. He'd been in other films, other TV shows, he was already a big name, but he'd gone to China to make a few films and have a bit more of a career there because the thing in America wasn't really working out for one reason or another. So he went and did The Big Boss, then he did one called Fist of Fury. Then, obviously, Way of the Dragon, that's the one with Chuck Norris. A lot of people remember that one quite fondly. And then he started to make a film called Game of Death. That's the one where he's wearing the yellow jumpsuit. That film wasn't abandoned as such, but it never got completed. What happened is the opportunity to go back to America to do a big movie, Enter the Dragon, which is a big Hollywood movie, came about. So obviously that was a studio movie, Warner Brothers specifically. He went over to make that film. That was the last full film that he would make. He died around the time the film was released in July of 1973. Obviously we've got the 50th anniversary coming up, which I think is why this box set's coming out. And we're going to talk about the specifics of that shortly. But July coincides with his death and the release, the 50th anniversary, the release of Enter the Dragon. So the 50th anniversary of that, that's why we're getting this big box set, basically. Game of Death, the one that he started making, the one with the yellow jumpsuit, that was the one where a few years later, after he died, about 5 years later, I think it was 1978, the guy who directed Enter the Dragon did a version of that filmed stuff. You can see one of my previous videos about Bruce Lee on my playlist section on the website. I was talking about that specific movie in there and the circumstances regarding that. It wasn't a very good film in terms of being a Bruce Lee fan, but it's good enough that it gets included in this box set. It's quite good in some ways. It's got a John Barry score, for example, that's amazing, and some other stuff in there as well. It's a piece of history, anyway, Bruce Lee history. So let's get into other matters. Right then, so in the last video I was talking about the Bruce Lee video box set that's coming out in July in the UK, which is going to be Blu-ray and 4K. And I want this to be the video that matters because the last couple of videos kind of mixed things up a little bit, and ultimately we got the full details yesterday, April 28th, which was a Friday. Arrow Video released the full specifications of what's going to be on each disc. Now, in the first video I did, because this is kind of the third part to this whole thing, the last two parts I kind of talked about some of the side issues and so on. This one I'm going to talk about specifically what is on each disc. The first video I kind of gave an overview of it because that's all we had from Arrow originally. It was just kind of a generic list of things that are going to be included in the set. Like I said, this one I'm going to break it down disc by disc. So if you find the kind of thing interesting, good. If you don't, it's just going to be me talking for quite a lot of it over just reading words, basically. But the specifics of what I'm going through is worth listening to, because if you're thinking about buying this, you kind of need to know what you're going to get, because there's a lot of stuff on there. It's not just the films. There's different cuts, different extras, what's been ported across from previous versions and so on. Well, it depends what your previous versions are, and again, that's something I talked about in a previous video. So for a little bit of context before I get into the specifics of it, this is my collection here of Bruce Lee moves. Hang on, what the hell's that at the bottom there? This does not belong in there, the clones of Bruce Lee. Get that out of here. I've talked about that previously on the channel. These are Bruce Lee DVDs. Unfortunately, I never upgraded to the Blu-rays because I'd heard mixed things. I've talked about that in previous video. I'm not going to go into that again. But for whatever reason, I've got the DVDs. From what I understand, this new version, this 4K version that you're getting from Arrow, ports across everything that's been included before, apparently. And I'm going to get into the specifics of what's on each disc, so we can look at that. I'm not going to go into what's on my discs because that's unique to me. I don't think that's going to be relevant to most of the people watching this. I've got a few other videos in here, granted, as well. I've got Dragon, the Bruce Lee story. I find that worthy of having in this collection. It's a very good film from the early 90s. There's a couple of documentaries, Death by Misadventure, which gets into Bruce and Brandon Lee's legacies and death, and there's some other interview stuff as well. Just incidentally, I do kind of count Brandon Lee's movies in with my collection. So there's Legacy of Rage, which is very good. The Crow, obviously, needless to say. If I'm going to try to convince my girlfriend to watch that tonight, actually, hopefully, because I'm kind of in the mood for watching that, and yeah, whatever. Rapid Fire on DVD. Laser Mission, if you're really hardcore. And Showdown in Little Tokyo, I've actually upgraded recently on this to a Blu-ray, and it's an import. Quite expensive, like £20 odd. I've been waiting for years for that film to come down in price, but it hasn't. I'm probably going to talk more about this film, this version, in a future video, so stay tuned for that. Anyway, let's get on to the actual, the specifics of what's in this new set. Right, I am going to change the aspect ratio, but currently, if you go to the Arrow video website, you have this at the top. They're quite heavily promoting the Golden Harvest box set. So when you go onto there, you can then see, as of yesterday, you can see, which was April 28th, you can see the full details, the specifications, the artwork, that kind of thing. So this version I'm looking at is the 4K box set. There are other versions and other artworks, but I'm pre-ordering this. This is the ultimate one, so that's the one I'm going to look at. You can check the website out and look at other versions, look at other artworks and so on. But yeah, very nice, as you can see here when we zoom in. Sorry, I zoomed on the wrong one there. But the actual thing itself, you can see each video has got its own cover, and you can see also the actual number of discs you get here as well. Difficult to zoom in because it kind of flips to the next picture, but you also get this book as well, which is quite nice, and you get a poster, and you get a lot of lobby cards as well. So a very nice collection looking at this. So if you want to see visually what you get, this is it. Now let's just change the aspect ratio so I can actually list the specifics of the thing, because otherwise it's going to be a bit tricky. So same website, same page, and that's the artwork I was just showing you. These are the details. That's the current price. You can select which option. Obviously, that's the one I'm going for. 17th of July. There's a video trailer there as well. Product overview. That just kind of goes into the basic description. So it's a limited 10-disc UHD Blu-ray collection. Obviously limited edition packaging, £200 hard book featuring new writing from Walter Chaw, Henry Blythe, Andrew Stanton, Dylan Chung, David West and James Flower, 24 lobby card reproductions, 10 glossy photos of Lee in action, reversible poster with vintage quad poster artwork. Now, this is where it's going to get a bit boring, but if you want to know the specifics, stay with me because we're going to cover the whole thing. We're going to talk disc by disc what you're going to get. So I'm going to speak quite quick so you don't have to change the speed of the video. But if I'm going too fast, you're going to have to slow it down. So however that works, that's up to you. So disc 1, the big box. The big box, that's wrong. The big boss. It is a big box. It's a big box set. It's very expensive, but yeah, it's the big boss. 4K, and that's the UHD Blu-ray representations in Dolby Vision, HDR10 compatible of the 99-minute 1983 version of The Big Boss, newly restored by Arrow Films from the original negative. Original, newly restored lossless Mandarin, English and Cantonese mono audio. 2 English mono options, the standard mix and Japanese mix with an alternate score. Newly translated English subtitles plus optional subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing for the English dubs. 2 brand new feature commentaries, one by David Desser and one by Brandon Bentley. Return to Thailand, a new documentary produced and presented by Matt Rutledge exploring the original filming locations. Newly uncovered, deleted and extended scenes with optional commentary by Bentley. The Not Quite Biggest Boss, a video essay by Bentley investigating the scenes still lost, such as the saw in the head scene. Archive interviews with co-star Lao Wing and stuntman Tung Wai. Bruce Lee, that was somebody else. Bruce Lee versus Peter Thomas, a short video essay about the music for the English version. Alternate credit sequence. Trailer gallery including a Before the Big Boss reel and the trailer for the lost sequel, The Big Boss Part 2, and an image gallery. So disc 2, The Big Boss, the Mandarin cut. Same film, obviously. So again, the same specifications, 4K Blu-ray, HDR10, blah, 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 of 3 alternate versions of The Big Boss with lossless mono audio, newly restored by Arrow Films, the 110-minute Mandarin cut with restored Mandarin mono, the 100-minute English export cut featuring a rare English dub track, some scenes in Mandarin, and the 100-minute US theatrical cut, newly restored English subtitles for the Mandarin cut, subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing of both English cuts, Axis of English, a brand new video essay by Will Offutt profiling the English dubbing actors for The Big Boss, Fist of Fury, and Way of the Dragon, unrestored raw scan of the Mandarin cut, 1080p only. It's hard to tell which version to watch when you're going to get this film. It's going to be interesting. I'm quite interested in the thing about the music, because I seem to remember from The Big Boss, he does have some music from Pink Floyd's Dark Side of the Moon, which I always thought was kind of weird that was thrown in there. Anyway, moving on. So Fist of Fury. So this is the second film, but it's the third disc. Again, it's 4K, it's HDR10, newly restored by Arrow Films from the original negative. Alternate English export cut viewing option with different opening and closing credits via seamless branching. Original newly restored Mandarin English and Cantonese mono audio. 2 English mono options, a standard mix and a Japanese mix with alternate music. Newly translated English subtitles plus optional subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing on the English dubs. 2 brand new feature commentaries, one by Jonathan Clements and one by Brandon Bentley. Legend of the Dragon, a newly filmed 80-minute overview of Lee's life and career by film critic and historian Tony Raines. Visions of Fury, a brand new featurette on Bruce Lee's collaboration with Golden Harvest and Lo Wei, featuring interviews with co-producer Andre Morgan and martial arts experts Michael Worth, Frank Zheng, Johnny Kreng, Andy Cheng, and Bruce Willow. Archive interviews with co-stars Nora Miao, Riki Hashimoto, and Juan Kasumura and Yuen Hua. Don't know those last 2 names. Don't know why. I'm sure I recognise him if I saw them. Alternate credit sequence, trailer gallery including Chen, Zen, trailer reel, image gallery. So that was the second film. Now disc 4, Way of the Dragon, so that's the third film. Again, 4K, it's HDR10. Newly restored Arrow Films from original film elements of the Hong Kong theatrical cut and the Japanese cut via seamless branching. Original newly restored lossless Mandarin, English and Cantonese mono audio on the Hong Kong theatrical cut. Alternate lossless mono audio on the Japanese cut. Optional newly translated English subtitles. Subtitles for deaf and hard of hearing on the English audio options. Brand new feature commentaries by Frank Zheng, Michael Worth, and one by Brandon Bentley. The Way of the Camera, a new documentary looking at Lee's filmmaking and fighting method in his directorial debut, featuring interviews with Golden Harvest producer Andre Morgan, martial arts experts Michael Worth, John Crane, Andy Cheng, Frank Zheng, David Young, film historian Courtney Joyer, and actors Peter Schwier and John Ben and John Saxon. Meet the Italian Beauty, a newly filmed interview with star Melissa Longo. The Scottish Soldier Meets the Dragon, a newly filmed interview with on-set observer John Young. Newly restored select scene commentary by Thug actor Peter Schwier. Archive interviews with John Ben, Bob Wall, Huang In-shik, and production managers Chaplin Chang and Louis Sitt. Trailer gallery including a Bruceploitation trailer reel. I wonder if that's going to have clones of Bruce Lee. Image gallery. Disc 5, Enter the Dragon, which is just the general Blu-ray. It's the 40th anniversary, so that came out in 2013, courtesy of Warner Brothers. I believe they're doing their own celebration coming this year. I don't know the details of that yet, and it'll be a 4K. So on this, you're just getting Enter the Dragon in Blu-ray. High-def version. I won't cover this too much because this one's already out there. It's been out there for years, so I'm not too interested in that. We know what the details are of that. But it's there if you want to read it. The details are there. So disc 6, Game of Death, 4K representation, although it's 2160, so that's interesting. UHD Blu-ray representations in Dolby Vision, HDR10 compatible. Restored by Arrow Films from original film elements of the international cut and the Japanese cut via seamless branching. I say it's interesting because these films, a bit of a mix in terms of quality in previous versions from my experience anyway. Original newly restored English mono audio on both cuts, English subtitles for deaf and hard hearing, brand new feature commentary by Brandon Bentley and Mike Leader, the song I'm Singing Tomorrow, a newly filmed interview with star Colleen Camp. You'll recognise her, she's been in loads of stuff. She was in Die Hard with a Vengeance, I seem to remember a few other things. Deleted and extended scenes from the Chinese language versions of the film, including 2 alternate endings, containing some standard definition material. That's what I say. I've seen mixed quality in this film over time, so it'd be interesting to see how it kind of presents itself. Archive interviews with co-stars Dan Inosanto and Bob Wall. Behind-the-scenes footage as featured in Bruce Lee, The Legend. Rare Productions Sales featurette from 1976 with new commentary by Michael Worth and producer Andre Morgan. Fight scene dailies from Sammo Hung, location featurette from 2013, trailer gallery including Bruceploitation and Robert Klaus at Golden Harvest, trailer reels, image gallery. So disc 7, Game of Death alternate versions. This is just a standard Blu-ray. So it's in high def, original lossless Mandarin, Cantonese mono audio, newly translated optional English subtitles, archive interview with Casanova Wong from 2001 on his relationship with Sammo Hung and Lee's influence on him, 2 alternate Cantonese and Mandarin versions of the film in high def, including seamless branches with different credits, ending and reinstated. Jihan J Fight contains some standard definition material. Archive featurettes on Lee's life and impact, The Hong Kong Connection, Bruce Lee Remembered, Legacy of the Dragon, Dragon Rising and the Grandmaster and the Dragon, featuring interviews with Hung, Donnie Yen, William Chung and many others. Archive interviews with Robert Lee, Phoebe Lee, Matt Johnson, George Lee, Gene LaBelle, Van Williams, Joe Torre, I can't pronounce that. Torre Nueva, Jeff Imada, he's a big guy, he's been doing films for a long time. Linda Palmer, Fred Weintraub, Tom Kuhn, Paul Heller, and James Liu. We're getting towards the end of it now, sorry about this. Disc 8, Game of Death, bonus disc Blu-ray. The Final Game of Death, a brand new 3-hour video essay by Arrow Films that incorporates a new 2K restoration of all 2 hours of Lee's original dailies from a recently discovered into positive. To be honest, I'm looking forward to that more than actually rewatching the film Game of Death. I don't mean that as a bad thing. I quite like the film Game of Death. This just sounds really good. Game of Death Revisited, an earlier attempt to reconstruct Lee's original vision from 2001, Super 8 footage from 1974 of Dan Inosanto demonstrating the nunchaku, brief archival interview with Kareem Abdul-Jabbar from 1976, and an image gallery. Disc 9, Game of Death 2, which is a standard Blu-ray, 2K restoration of the international cut of the film titled Game of Death 2 by Arrow Video from original film elements. High definition representation, as well as the Hong Kong theatrical cut titled Tower of Death, contains some standard def material. Original lossless mono audio on Game of Death 2. Original lossless Mandarin, Cantonese, English mono audio on Tower of Death. English subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing on Game of Death 2. And optional newly translated English subtitles on Tower of Death. Brand new feature commentary by Frank Zheng and Michael Worth, co-producers of Enter the Clones of Bruce. Archive interview with Roy Horan. Alternate Korean version with unique footage presented in high def with original lossless mono audio with newly translated English subtitles. Alternate US version in high def with lossless English mono audio via seamless branching. Alternate end credit sequence for Game of Death 2, trailer and image gallery. Then the last disc of the 10 set, documentaries. So these we've seen before. This is where stuff gets ported across. It's good that it's included because we don't want to lose that when we upgrade. So high def, Blu-ray presentations of Bruce Lee, the Man and the Legend from 1973 and Bruce Lee, the Legend from 1984. I think I've just got that on a DVD somewhere, just on its own, so I'll be able to get rid of that. Original lossless Mandarin mono audio for The Man, the Legend, and lossless English mono audio for both films. Newly translated optional English subtitles for The Man and the Legend, and subtitles for the deaf and hard of hearing for both films. Alternate video version of The Legend, featuring a different ending and credits, standard deaf only. Archive video of a tour of Golden Harvest Studios conducted in the mid-90s by Russell Cawthorne, writer of Bruce Lee the Legend. Alternate animated Hong Kong credits for Enter the Dragon. Trailers and image gallery for both films. Jesus, can I go home now? So I hope you found that of interest anyway. Obviously, the movie set is coming out in July. I've got it pre-ordered, of course. I don't normally pre-order things, but it's currently £120 if you're ordering directly from Arrow Video, from their website. You can get the Arrow exclusive box set, which is what I've been talking about here. So, yeah, it's up to you if you want to check that out. Do so. Like I said, I pre-ordered it, so that's my recommendation for actions to take. But it's up to you, really. What else can I say? Obviously, I've got a Bruce Lee section on the a playlist on the channel, so you can check that out. I've got some older videos from 2014. Quality's not great, but you get the kind of gist of my thoughts on the movies themselves. If you want to check that out, if you're desperate. I've got a few other good videos in there as well that aren't mine. It's just a playlist. Beyond that, like I said, I'm probably going to be talking about Showdown in Little Tokyo, the Steelbook Blu-ray that I bought recently, which was an import. I got that off eBay. It was about £20, but that's a different story for a different day. So probably going to do that very soon, to be honest, if I get a chance to. So for now, I will leave it there and say thank you very much for watching. You can like the video or you can subscribe to the channel if you're really desperate. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Thank you very much for watching.